Of course, this is Dr. Keith McNally, and this is the Question Guy podcast. Welcome, everybody. So I am with Dr. Colleen Kelley, and Dr. Colleen is doing something really fantastic in education, and specifically in chemistry. She has founded something called Kids Chemical Solutions. And I'm reading my notes, but I've seen some of your stuff on LinkedIn, and so I've been kind of following you, not really engaging yet. So I do apologize. Tell us what you're doing in education, and specifically, why is teaching chemistry, why do people not get it? Because I was
Yeah.
there. I was totally there. And I'll be honest with you, and I know you want to kind of jump in. Chemistry in college was really one of my better subjects. And that's surprising. And even my instructor said you should probably go further, and I never did. And so I probably kicked myself in the butt for that. But it's really difficult to kind of put things conceptually in your head. But you found the secret. What's that secret?
Well, the secret was a long time coming. I think there's two questions, right? Like why is chemistry so difficult to teach? Why is it so difficult to learn? But I think the question I ask myself is why do I understand it so profoundly and love it to the extent that I do? What am I seeing that others are not seeing? So there's a lot of different lenses to look at learning chemistry. But what I discovered is have you ever been like I'm a parent, and so I was at my son's swim meet, and you're in the stands watching and chit chatting, and another parent can say to you, "Oh, what do you do?" I say, I teach chemistry at the University of Arizona. Oh, you must be good at math is the next comment usually, and it's always been such a strange comment to me. And finally, I had the courage to say, I haven't taken math since 1985, so I'm not sure what that means. I'm an organic biochemist in drug discovery mainly, and I use symbols, and that's where it clicked. And
Oh,
I think the difficulty in chemistry is this misconception that it's only founded on math. And while that's a component of chemistry, a lot of chemistry is symbolic. And the mystery that I uncovered through my research is that learning chemistry is more like music than math. And so
wait,
organic
wait, wait.
molecules. Oh, go ahead.
So does somebody need to have a music background to understand? That confuses me.
No, no, no. It learning chemistry is more like learning music.
Well, I've never
So
learned
if
music, so I'm not good at that either. So how would
no, well,
go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
You don't, I think the analogy is strong in that it's not necessary to, I don't know any music. I can't read music. But what I'm saying is that if you look at musical symbols, we know that kids start learning music at a very early age to become musicians in college, right?
Right, right.
And chemical symbols have that same drawing nature that need to be interpreted. So a musician would look at a sheet of music and hear something. A chemist looks at a bunch of organic chemical reactions that are squares and triangles and hexagons and arrows and dots and see movement, even though it's on a whiteboard. And so if we can get kids to see that when their brains have the neuroplasticity to understand and imagine what's happening and what those symbols represent, that'll go a long way to their success later on in science.
So, according to this kids' chemical solutions, what age of child are you really focused on, and how do you know that that's the right place to start teaching chemistry? Because chemistry is typically not. My daughter's 12 years old, and she's not learning chemistry.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So this is what I've learned is that when students get to college and haven't had chemistry yet, it's almost like we're trying to teach them a foreign language at 20.
Hmm.
Usually we know that starting a foreign language or starting things like music is better earlier. So I'm hitting, not hitting, scratch that.
It's all good.
I'm reaching students at the age of 8 or 9, 10, and
Really?
I'm in the finishing a 10-week study in a classroom of fourth and fifth graders who are learning college-based chemistry through my comic books.
Whoa, comic. Tell me more about comics. No, I used to collect comics back in the day. I don't. I'm. half a century old, so that's not my thing anymore. How do you teach chemistry through a comic book?
Well, the comic book was scaffolded towards a chemistry textbook. So there are 10 comic books in a series. Each comic book is its own mystery, but each comic book represents a unit in chemistry. But there is a story that evolves. So, for example, the very first story about where the students are learning about the periodic table, they time travel back and solve a mystery of how to save the radium girls from being poisoned by radium paint.
Wow.
So they have to make the connections with the periodic table, what's happening with radium. So each comic book, again, is a unit in chemistry and in sequence represents an entire chemistry curriculum.
You mean like the whole curriculum or just a semester's worth of chemistry?
A semester worth of
Okay.
what would be an advanced high school or freshman in college.
And so with these well, now I'm really intrigued and I have to get, just for my own sake, I have to get these comic books. How has, how have these students, these young students, um, accepted? I don't even have the right word for it. How have they been able to participate in learning a foreign language, as you call it? And have they been good at it?
They've been crushing it,
They've been
Keith.
crushing it?
Well, what the thing is when you don't tell someone it's hard and you give them a really compelling story, and the story is fun and funny, and the characters um, are making them laugh, and there's a mystery to solve, and they're trying to figure things out. So, and then in the middle of that, there's a puzzle to solve, and the puzzle is calculating protons, neutrons, and electrons. But they need to do that to unlock the safe to get to the next part. So there's a game, there's a little bit of competition where we're playing bingo to see, which table can get to bingo first, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of components. We play periodic twister, where or periodic table twister, where there's a big shower curtain that's a periodic table, and you say, group one, period four, left foot. And so there's multi components to make it fun, engaging. And what I am watching for and what I've designed the comic book and the workbooks and the activities is to reinforce those learning objectives that are found in a freshman chemistry college course.
So, but you said earlier, and this is what that's really intriguing to me because the idea of story is so prevalent across everything, all industries now. We tell story to tell details and make it applicable to people's lives. And you talked about one story and they have to go back in time. So so that's really cool to be quite honest. And it's really creative. And so are there other, without giving everything away, are there other components to the story, or is the whole comic book series about going back in time and solving puzzles?
Oh no, there's the third comic book is a pirate mystery, which is a fictitious or somewhat fictitious, but it's mirrored with the Princess Bride movie. So they have to find the six electron man instead of the six finger man, and six electron man is Carbon,
Mhm.
Sir Carbon, who mirrors Wesley in the Princess Bride.
Wow.
The fifth comic book, they're trying to figure out the uh, molecular constituents of Chanel number five. So they put on their scuba gear,
The
the
perfume?
perfume, yeah, the
Okay.
perfume. So they put on their scuba gear and go scuba diving in a bottle of Chanel number five to see what's in there. So there's imaginative worlds, there's historical worlds. They also have to save Van Gogh's Starry Night from vanishing. So they attend a benefit concert to save the vanishing Van Gogh to figure that out. And at the concert, the heavy metals are the headliners. So there's all kinds of different, I'm trying to appeal to different genders, races, ethnicities, interests, of just trying to really, but I'm also really trying to showcase that chemistry can be learned outside of a laboratory. So, in not one of my comic books happens in a laboratory. They're
Wow.
all these kind of settings where you have to apply chemistry to understand what's going on.
And so does that make sense to fourth and fifth graders that you currently are working
Yes,
with?
yeah,
Totally makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I
how did
have
they
tons of video to show this.
so where are you in the world? I know you're in Arizona, but do you have a website, and how do people get these comic books, and how do people get in touch with you?
Sure, right. So, my website is kidschemicalsolutions.com, and there's a order button on there, but there also on kidschemicalsolutions.com is a lot of the background information, some of the news articles, some of the publications about Kids Chemical Solutions and our journey. So our website is robust in that area. And you can contact me at chemistrycolleen@gmail.com.
Well, what's next in, you said earlier that this was 30 years in the making, and for me, that's seems like a lifetime.
It is.
So, but you finally come to something, you've got something of great value. What for you do you think is the next step forward? What's after this? If anything, is anything after
Yeah,
this?
no, my commitment is to make chemistry a normal part of elementary school learning. And so my commitment to that would be to have the comic books available in whatever platform that a school or home would desire. And including we're looking into creating a an animated series that could be also support the comic books and as well as maybe some gaming platforms. So whatever it takes to make chemistry just something that the kids look forward to in school. In the United States, we have this unit in first grade called Flat Stanley. I don't know if your kids went through Flat Stanley, but I
I don't
wanted to be
remember. I don't
something.
remember.
Flat Stanley is a reading unit. But I remember how excited the whole family was when my son finally got to Flat Stanley and we were all on board. Oh, we get to do Flat Stanley. And I want Kids Chemical Solutions to have that kind of vibe where everyone, the teachers, the parents, the school, the kids are like, oh, are you doing? My main characters are Poppy and Ray. So are you looking at Poppy and Ray right now? And that kind of enthusiasm so that the chemistry becomes accessible, chemistry becomes normal for whatever that means. And it just becomes something that is inclusive. We can all do this.
So, do you that's a lot for one person to take on. Like just Dr. Colleen. Does Dr. Colleen have a team? Because you've created a program, you have created content, comic books, you've got a website, you've got stuff going on, and now you're going to get it into the curriculum. Who's your help? Do you have help?
I do. I mean, so I have some great partners. I'm partnered with Hewitt Learning um, to publish and print and distribute the comic books. So I'm not at home packing comic books myself,
Okay.
and they're a fantastic team. I also have a team of artists that I have hired. Jonathan Hallett is my main comic book artist. He is actually the designer or the artist for Stitch of Lilo and Stitch. So he's well versed in the animated industry.
Oh,
So Jonathan and his team take on all of the comic books. So I send Jonathan a script with some ideas. I've got a concept artist that's a former student of mine. We send him some ideas for characters and he produces all that. So I do have an extended team to get these in production. Um, and I am looking for more help too.
what kind of help would that would now I'm curious. What kind of help
Oh,
would that be?
I'm doing I'm at heart a chemist, Keith. And so now all of a sudden I'm a CEO and a chief marketing officer and Salesforce and um I don't even get social media and now I'm on social media. So I really need someone to help spread the word is really what I need.
Well, hopefully I could help with that. And at least the very start would be this conversation and getting that conversation out to the world. So that would be at least
Thank you.
that would be a first step. And we could talk about other services I have on after the conversation. Um, so with that, I know some people in the educational world across the world. And so what I think I would like to do is connect you with those people to make your team a bit bigger and make your expanse a bit broader, if that's of value to you.
Huge value. Thank you.
Great. So you said that you spent 10 weeks in the fourth and fifth grade classroom, right? Is it,
Correct.
and this was a pilot program.
Right.
Are you like are you repiloting, or are you like doing it in different schools, or is this, if you get good success here, it's kind of like we're moving forward. So how does that work?
Well, I was fortunate enough to have a friend who allowed me to commandeer his science class in the elementary school. So, unless I have another offer from someone, I really need someone who's willing to say, you know what? And luckily, this was a private school, so they didn't have all the same constraints as a public school
Public
system.
school.
And I very much, I'm a product of a public school myself, and I understand what those teachers go through and need to do. Private school has a little more flexibility. So I would gladly hop into another classroom and can, keep refining this process. A, it's a blast, and B, I'm learning a ton. So it's just the opportunity. If an opportunity presents itself, I would happily um, contribute. It just depends on how much time an individual school has to allow me to come in and teach chemistry.
That sounds like a perfect strategy. So with that, I want to see that happen. And so I'm going to do everything I can to help you make
Thank
this
you.
successful. And so that's kind of what I do. But with that, there's probably so much more, but because of time, I want to kind of end the conversation now. But we'll love to pick this conversation up again in 2023 because there's so much more I think that we should talk about, especially in terms of your comment. Now that I've got, because what I do is when I have conversations and I'll buy their book or whatever. So now I've just got to read your comic books. And so, and then we've got to have a conversation around these stories, which is sounds so intriguing to me. Would that be something you'd be willing to do?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Well, with that, this has been another edition of the Question Guy podcast. I'm here with Dr. Colleen Kelley. And of course, my name is Dr. Keith McNally, and we'll see you next time. Take care.